just here. There is no explanation for it. We can't even make sense of it.
This afternoon, we are continuing to learn more about the murder-suicide that happened Tuesday in Cohoes.
Gabrielle Forman had just returned home from Georgia when she got on a FaceTime call with her mother. It was her mother's birthday. Then her husband walked into the room, took the phone from Gabrielle, and ended the call. Her mother wouldn't get to speak to her daughter again. Gabrielle was 30 years old and working as a nurse at a hospital in Saratoga. She wasn't just focused on where she was at that moment. She was training to become a nurse practitioner with plans to eventually open a clinic of her own. Family members remembered her as loving, caring, smart, and full of life. She enjoyed traveling, taking pictures, going out to eat, and documenting the moments she shared with the people she loved. And just hours before everything happened, Gabrielle had been doing exactly that. She had been in Georgia, celebrating her mother's birthday and her sister's departure for college. It was a family moment, the kind you take pictures of because you expect there will be plenty more. Then Gabrielle came home to New York. She was back at the apartment she shared with her husband, 37-year-old Jadet Forman. The couple had been married for about 2 years and had lived together at the lofts at Harmony Mills since 2022. From the outside, there wasn't much in the public record that suggested what was coming. Police had not previously been called to the apartment for domestic problems. Management had not reported hearing the couple fighting. Jadet also had no known criminal history in New York or elsewhere. But relatives later described problems inside the marriage. A cousin said Jadet could be aggressive, throw things, and lose his temper. She also made an important distinction. She said he had never hit Gabrielle. By this point, though, the marriage was already falling apart. Gabrielle and Jadet were in the process of getting divorced, and then came that FaceTime call. Gabrielle's mother was still in Georgia when she spoke with her daughter. It was her birthday, and for a moment they were simply talking. Then an argument began. Jadet came into the room. According to Gabrielle's cousin, he became upset, took the phone from Gabrielle, and ended the call. The mother was left trying to understand what had just happened. Gabrielle didn't call her back, and she couldn't get through to her daughter. That was enough to make her worry. She asked Gabrielle's brother to go check on her. So he went to the apartment complex with someone from the property management team. They were trying to make contact. Then they heard it. 2 gunshots. The brother called 911. Other emergency calls started coming in shortly after 11 that morning. Nobody inside the apartment had called for help. By then, the situation had changed completely. What had begun as a family member checking on Gabrielle had become a police emergency behind the door of a second-floor apartment, and officers still had no idea what was waiting for them inside. Cohoes police were called to the lofts at Harmony Mills, and officers from nearby departments soon joined them. The second floor was evacuated. People were moved away from the apartment while officers tried to figure out what they were dealing with. There had been gunfire. 2 people were believed to be inside, but nobody knew what had happened after those shots. Police had to consider the possibility that someone inside was still armed.
Good morning, everyone. This is Benny Nasai from News Channel 13 here. We're learning new details this morning about the apparent murder-suicide that happened here on Tuesday at the Harmony Mills Lofts in Cohoes. According to Cohoes police, 37-year-old Jadet Forman shot and killed his 30-year-old wife, Gabrielle.
They also had to consider whether anyone was being held inside the apartment, so they did not rush through the door. Instead, officers secured the area and worked to assess the situation for the family waiting outside. Though every minute felt different, they knew Gabrielle was in there. They didn't know if she was alive. They didn't know who had fired the gun, and they didn't know what was happening on the other side of that door. Police remained outside for roughly 5 hours. Then, at around 4:30 that afternoon, officers finally entered the apartment. Inside, they found Gabrielle Forman and Jadet Forman. Both were dead. A firearm was recovered from the apartment. By that evening, authorities were describing the incident as an apparent murder-suicide connected to a domestic dispute, but the exact sequence still had to be confirmed. And that answer would come from the medical examiner. The following day, autopsies provided the answer. Investigators determined that Jadet had shot Gabrielle once. Then he turned the gun on himself. The weapon was a 9mm firearm described by police as an unserialized, privately made gun, commonly known as a ghost gun. It was identified as a Polymer 80 type firearm. Because the weapon had no serial number, investigators also began looking into where Jadet had gotten it. That question remained open. Police did not publicly explain how he obtained the gun. What they did confirm was the order of events. Gabrielle was killed first, Jadet died afterward, and according to officials, both had already suffered fatal injuries before the first 911 call reached police. So by the time Gabrielle's brother heard those shots and called for help, there was nothing emergency responders could have done to change the outcome. That didn't make the family's questions any easier. They had lost Gabrielle in a matter of hours. She had just been with them in Georgia. She had just celebrated her mother's birthday. She had just watched her sister prepare for college. Then she returned home. A FaceTime call ended abruptly. Her brother went to check on her, and gunfire followed. Gabrielle's relatives cooperated with investigators and later spoke publicly about the woman they knew. Her father remembered how highly people at her workplace thought of her. Her godmother spoke about how much Gabrielle loved taking pictures and enjoying life. But for the people who loved her, none of those memories could explain how she went from celebrating with her family to being dead inside her own home.
The murder-suicide in Cohoes has left a family with immense grief.
News 10's Alex Berger tells us more about the victim whose life was cut short.
We can confirm that this was a murder-suicide, and it's clear that the husband shot his wife before turning the gun on himself.
Tuesday morning, Gabrielle Forman was shot and killed by her husband Jadet Forman in an apartment complex in Cohoes. This was just hours after she had flown back from Georgia after celebrating her sister going off to college and her mother's birthday.
We just can't believe she's gone. She was just here. Just hours. She was just here. There is no explanation for it. We can't even make sense of it.
Gabrielle's father remembering her as a woman who cared about everyone.
Beautiful, smart, loving, caring. She's just a beautiful soul. Cannot ask for a better daughter.
Gabrielle's godmother said she was always positive, and it showed.
She had a contagious smile and laugh, and she had hugs that will make you melt.
In her professional life, Gabrielle was a nurse caring for others. She was also pursuing higher education to become a nurse practitioner and open her own clinic. She made an impact on everyone she was around.
They really loved her on the job. They spoke highly of her. And they even go as far as to say, I wish everyone in this building would be like her.
In her personal life, Gabrielle loved to travel, being remembered as a woman who loved to see the world.
She's very photogenic. There are thousands of pictures of Gabby, no matter where she went, whether it was out for dinner or whether, she went to Dubai and rode the camels. That was her. She captured every single moment of her life.
In Cohoes, Alex Berger, News 10 ABC.
One relative put the feeling into simple words. We just can't believe she's gone. She was just here. Just hours. She was just here. There is no explanation for it. We can't even make sense of it. And while the family was trying to process Gabrielle's death, Another question began getting attention.
Where they found both Gabrielle and Jadet deceased. An autopsy confirms that neither individual could have survived their gunshot wounds, regardless of police response time. Today we spoke with Jadet's sister, Shay, who says this truly came as a surprise, and she thought Gabrielle and Jadet were working things out.
You know, regular marriage things is, you know, they had their issues, they work it out. They decided to stay together, work it out. And then just most recently, it's, you know, divorce has probably come up as a topic before, but never to the point of where it's reached now.
And I did reach out to multiple of Gabrielle's friends and family members, and I was in touch with her brother today as well. He told me that their family was not ready to speak to us on her behalf yet. This investigation is ongoing, and we will bring you the latest details as we have them. For now, we're live in Cohoes. Lauren Holdmeyer, News Channel 13.
Why had police waited hours before entering the apartment? Some relatives criticized the delay. Authorities defended it. Chief Todd Walden explained that officers did not know what was happening inside when they arrived. They had to treat the situation as potentially involving an armed, barricaded person, or even a hostage situation. Entering too quickly, officials said, could have put more people at risk.
Breaking new details here at 4:30. We're getting new information about the gun used in a murder-suicide in Cohoes.
Yeah, we just heard from the police chief in Cohoes. The shooting happening inside an apartment at the Harmony Mills Lofts yesterday afternoon. We're continuing to learn more about that murder-suicide. Today, Cohoes Mayor Keeler and Police Chief Walden confirmed the names of the two people who died.
Police say Jadet Forman shot his wife, Gabrielle, and then shot himself. Police entered the apartment 5 hours later. News Channel 13's Lauren Holdmeyer joins us live right now outside the Harmony Mills Apartments in Troy, where this shooting is still under investigation. Lauren, good afternoon to you. We have new details on the weapon recovered there.
Mark and Sabrina, good afternoon. That shooting investigation is still very much underway here at the Harmony Mills apartment complexes as we're learning new details. And today, Cohoes police confirmed to us that the victim was shot by her husband of 2 years using an illegal ghost gun. Cohoes police have confirmed the identities of the two people who died yesterday inside the Harmony Mills apartments. Police say 37-year-old Jadet Forman shot his wife, Gabrielle Forman, one time before shooting himself. The shots were fired just after 11 a.m. and police responded to the apartment complex immediately after. Police say Jadet used a 9mm handgun that was illegal and not registered to commit the murder-suicide. They say he had no criminal history before, and at the time they are not sure how he acquired the gun, but that he possessed it illegally, and this gun was illegal for anyone to obtain.
It turns out that this was an unserialized, unregistered firearm. It was classified as a Polymer 80, which means it was something that was put together. Also referred to often as a PMF, or privately made firearm, or ghost gun in other terms. So it was not a legal firearm, and he was not allowed to possess this firearm at the time.
And there are still many details that investigators are working to learn about this murder-suicide. And today we're learning that the victim's mother and brother were aware that something unusual was going on at the time and were on the premises when those shots actually rang out. We'll give you the details about this coming up later on Live at 5. For now, we're live in Cohoes. Lauren Holdmeyer, News Channel 13.
So officers waited until they could safely make entry. By the time they went inside, however, the outcome had already been decided. Gabrielle and Jadet were both dead, and there would be no trial, no courtroom confrontation, and no chance for Gabrielle to tell investigators herself what happened inside that apartment. Because Jadet Forman died at the scene, there was no arrest and no criminal trial. There would be no courtroom testimony from him, no defense to hear, and no opportunity for Gabrielle to tell her side of what happened. Instead, investigators were left with the physical evidence, witness accounts, the family's statements, and the autopsy findings. The investigation into the firearm also continued. Police wanted to know how Jadet obtained the unserialized 9mm weapon, but the public record did not provide an answer to that question. What authorities could establish was much clearer. Gabrielle had been shot by her husband. Jadet then died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. The case was officially treated as a murder-suicide connected to a domestic dispute. For Gabrielle's family, the hardest part wasn't only losing her, it was knowing how recently they had seen her. She had been in Georgia with them. She had celebrated her mother's birthday. She had been there for her sister's next chapter. Then she came home. Hours later, her family was waiting outside her apartment, while police tried to determine what was happening inside. Gabrielle was 30. She was building a career, training to become a nurse practitioner, and dreaming about opening a clinic. Her life had plans attached to it. Her family had plans with her. Those plans ended inside that apartment, and the public record leaves us with a painful sequence that is difficult to forget. A daughter on FaceTime with her mother, a husband taking the phone, a brother going to check on her, 2 gunshots, and, hours later, 2 lives gone. Gabrielle's story was not only about how she died, it was also about the life she had been building before that day. A nurse, a daughter, a sister, a traveler, a woman with a future she was still working toward. And for the people who loved her, that future is what they were left mourning.